So the topic that we're covering today is all about sales meetings, right? I hear it from people all the time. I hear it from sales agents that they don't want to go to sales meetings because they don't find value. I hear it on the other side from the team leader that's saying, I don't know what to cover in my sales meeting. And I feel like I'm saying the same thing every single time and I don't know what to do. So we're basically going to cover 4 things that I believe are essential to run effective sales meetings. And while we cover those 4 things, I want you to be thinking about how can I create an environment that fosters growth and engagement, and of course, also drives sales, right? We really want to make sure that our sales meetings are helping the agents do the best that they can, right? So let's jump into that. You didn't miss anything. I started over. So the first essential piece is the culture or the environment that's collaborative and problem solving. So many times the team leader feels like they've got to do all the talking. I'm here to tell you that you can share the stage. Create an environment that is problem solving but collaborative, meaning your sales meetings are a great place to showcase the talent of some top performing agents on the team, right? If we take a collaborative approach, we can now use the collective knowledge of the team, right? We can use the collective skill. We can showcase our agents and put them on a pedestal or put them in a spotlight. And I always joke because my children will do things for my mom or my sister or my brother that they would never do for me. Or in other words, I could say something and they don't listen. But the moment my sister says it, they listen, right? Let me know if you've ever experienced that. You could tell your team something 1,000,000 times, but they hear it from someone else. And now they come back to you and they're so excited. They want to implement. And you've been like, oh my gosh, I've been trying to get this implemented for a really long time. Well, that's the part of the collaborative environment, is that if you get their buy-in, right, and they feel like they're problem solving, they're more likely to implement the things that we're talking about, right? And of course, because you don't always have to be center stage, when we allow them to participate, when we give assignments, when we call on them, they feel like they're contributing to the team and that their voice is heard and that they are valued. This is probably one of the biggest mistakes I've seen in a team environment, whether it's sales agents and team leader or it's assistants and managers, is that not letting people have a voice or letting them share their skills, their knowledges, and their experiences. I always tell agents when they join a team, look to the person to your left, look to the person to your right, because I promise that they have something they can teach you. So let's make sure that we're creating an environment where they can showcase their skills and their talents and really feel like they are contributing to the problems that we're solving. So that's part 1. Part 2 is creating an engaging and interactive format. Team meetings or sales meetings, they don't have to be boring, okay? So the first piece that I would say is let's focus on participant engagement. When you are structuring your agenda, and I didn't put that in here because I felt like maybe a little bit too, have an agenda. Please don't shoot from the hip on these things. Have an agenda. When you're putting together the agenda, think about, how am I going to capture their attention? How are we going to maintain interest? Because we've all been in a meeting that just is like, this could have been an email, right? Nobody wants to be in a meeting that could have been an email. Or when the meeting starts to drag and you just start to feel yawny, tired, you feel like maybe the notifications on your phone are calling for your attention, right? How do we maintain interest? How do we capture their attention? How do we create excitement where they actually want to come to the team meeting, where they want to attend? Because that's the other thing that I see team leaders struggle with, is how do I get people to attend? They're already so busy in their life. How do I get them to attend the team meeting? Well, let's look for participation, right? Let's drive excitement. How do you do that? By creating an interactive environment that fosters engagement. So think about real-time engagement. What does that participation look like? One of the things that the operations manager on our team implemented, which is probably the funnest thing that we do, and our team absolutely loves it, is we do a Kahoot. It's just a game. 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐧𝐠 is how you do it. And it's free, by the way. A lot of people are familiar with this because they do it in schools. It's basically an interactive game. You can participate through your phone or you can participate through your computer. So in every sales meeting, we do a Kahoot. And the Kahoot is where we are focusing on three things. The questions or the engagement come because it's a game and it scores you like 1, 2, and 3. And I don't know about you, but if you're anything like me, you're a little bit competitive. Merrill's probably one of the most competitive on our team. On the team, he's one of the most competitive. But this idea of, showcasing your knowledge and playing a game. So in the Kahoot, what we're doing is there are things that we have to go over that are sometimes boring. So to spice it up, we play this trivia game. And the 3 areas of focus are listings, right? Because it's important that they understand the inventory that you're carrying. And some of that might be market stats, but the big one is listings. And then we focus on some contract things. So our transaction coordinator and the team, they know where the agents maybe need a little bit of fresher reminder, or if you've got a mixture of agents, right? There's just things. The one on our last one was about how many days they have to respond to the HOA demand, right? Well, when I first got into real estate, it was like 10, then they moved it to 5. And, it's just like 10 years later, do I still remember? I did remember, but it's a fun way. So we focus on the contract and just pulling out some of those nuances and making sure they understand it. And then the third piece is, and this is the really boring stuff, the team's standard operating procedures. Do they understand how the team functions? Do they understand how lead flow functions? Do they understand the importance of using the numbers tracking? Do they understand how many times a week they're supposed to track their numbers and where do they track their numbers and what's a team lead and what's a self-generated lead? All of the boring minutia becomes now super fun because we put it in a game. So I highly encourage you to think about how can we take boring elements of things that we have to go over and make them fun and exciting, right? So Kahoot is one of the tools that we use. A lot of times we will also, if we're struggling with something, we will do more of a brainstorm and a mastermind. Is there a prize? That's a great question. So it's bragging rights for sure. So on the team, the bragging rights are big. You also get a sticker. I wish that I would have brought one to show to you guys today, but what I'll have Kelsey do is I will go ahead and have her post here in the thread some examples of our clipboards. And we use stickers as part of it. So you could actually see on someone's clipboard how many times they've won, but there's always bragging rights. So the prize is just bragging rights. And then you get a sticker, which is a kind of a badge of honor that you won. And we do showcase it on social media in our stories and things like that. But there's no other formal prize for winning. But we do have other awards. And I think that kind of chimes into the same part of interactive is once we do our game, which again is kind of trivia and is super fun, we also have other awards. At every team meeting, we have a couple. The 3 standing awards that we always do, the first sales meeting of the month, we do what's called the Banana Award. Why banana? Because we're in the Tom Ferry coaching environment and, banana is a thing. So we have an actual banana. And then we have banana stickers that go on their clipboards of their achievements and their sales. And every agent has that. The Banana Award is all focused on production. So that's where we highlight the production award at the very first team meeting. The next team meeting, we do what's called the Bomb Award. And that means that you are thebomb.com. Again, you can have lots of different awards. It's totally into what your culture is. And maybe you do who had the most showings and who had the most contracts written. You figure out what works for you. We do a culture award, and that is the bomb. And that's voted on by the team. So the team votes in Slack and says, we think that, like this past one, it was Sydney. She's one of the brand new agents, and she hasn't done a deal yet, but she's so close. And she did 5 open houses in 1 week. And the team all voted, she is the bomb. She gets the culture. She understands the hustle and the grind of being a real estate agent. And she got the bomb award, which is pretty fun for a brand new agent. The third award that we do consistently is what we call the Squeaky Clean Award. And that is voted on by the transaction coordinator because we want squeaky clean contracts. What does that mean? We understand that the client experience will be better if the contracts are more clean with less errors, right? Because when the contract has errors, then we got to send out addendum and we got to send out missing signatures, and it's just not a great experience. So every single month, the transaction team, they vote on which agent had the best contracts, and that is the Squeaky Clean Award. Now, those awards, we do give out $25 Amazon gift cards for both the Production Award, the Bomb Award, and the Squeaky Clean, in addition to their stickers. So those are just some of the ways that we keep it, engaging. We play games, we have awards, and we make assignments, right? So again, this idea of share the stage. One person doesn't have to run the entire meeting. Our transaction team, they're the ones that roll out all of the initiatives. We just had a change in our contract that's going to be implemented in July. They ran that, right? The team leader didn't have to. That was on them. We also really look for success stories, and that's where we make assignments. We do something called a hugging story. It's from the book, How to Hug Your Customer, which is a book that we love as a team because we understand that when the client is happy and they have a great experience, they will refer you more business. So by making assignments and then even having an opportunity for role play, playing games, masterminding, lots of discussion, it creates an interactive environment which fosters engagement. Now, the benefits should be pretty clear on this, right? The benefits is the exchange of ideas, the experience sharing. Well, I was on a showing last week and this is what I did, and I had a client who said this, and how would you handle this? Those kind of moments are so valuable because, to what I said earlier, you could shout it from the rooftops a million times, but when they hear an agent next to them say the same thing, but maybe with a twist, they're more willing to try it, right? It just happens. So that really helps build this culture within your team of we share and it's okay to fail forward, right? Like that's something like we also will implement something, we call it something I learned. It's a part of our agenda where if somebody messed up, or if I messed up or something happened, we say, here's something I learned, right? And we share with the group how we went through this experience and what we would do different and how we make sure it never happens again. So it's okay to fail forward, right? That's part of the culture. But most importantly, the adoption of what you're trying to implement, right? Whatever initiative you're trying to implement, you're going to get the buy-in and you're actually going to get implementation when they feel like they were part of the process. So by having more engagement, by having more discussion and collaboration, you will get projects off the ground faster. And that's really another big part of why we want engaging sales meetings. So the next part is we've got to have relevant information. This one's hard. Remember who's in the room. So as a team leader, you probably have several different types of meetings. We have an operations meeting, we have a marketing meeting, we have a sales meeting, and we have what we call our WIG meeting, which is our wildly important goals. Making sure that the content is relevant to the people who are attending will absolutely help with engagement. So let's make sure in sales meeting that it's valuable information. Think, could an agent use this today in their business? Is this something that's going to make it easier to do lead follow-up? Is this something that's going to make it easier to handle objections or just make their life in general easier? Because as you know, sales agents are really busy. They're out showing properties, they're setting appointments, they're following up with leads, they're writing contracts, they're negotiating deals. Whatever we bring to the team meeting, let's show them how it benefits them. Make sure that you're also tailoring the content to meet the needs of everybody there, right? Some people are very visual. Some people just need to hear it. Just remember to the modality or the medium in which you're delivering the content. Are we taking into consideration the different levels of how people learn? And are we speaking to that? Is the office comfortable, right? Is it hot? Is it cold? Like, think about the environment and make adjustments as you need to. Some of the items that I believe are super relevant to cover in team meetings are going to be like market stats, right? Making sure that everybody understands what's really going on with the market and what does that mean to a buyer and what does that mean to a seller. Talking about sales strategies and techniques. I was talking with one of my fellow team leaders and coaches today about Zillow home loans. Right? We're implementing Zillow home loans through our Zillow Flex platform, and we kind of were struggling with some different things. So we took it back to the team and we discussed, how can we make this happen? How can we hit this metric? Right? What are the strategies that they can use to help their clients win in a multiple offer situation? Right? So we're talking sales strategies. We're talking techniques for negotiation. Sometimes it's just simple calendaring, right? Sometimes we talk about like, what kept you from doing your lead follow-up? Well, this happened. Okay, well, how could we solve that problem? Like, from a no judgment zone, let's work together to figure out how everybody can achieve their goals, right? So making sure that the content is something that they can use in their business will make sure that they actually attend team meetings and that they're not falling asleep during the team meetings or just zoning off on their phones. Because what's the point, right? I'm not here to waste time. Another thing that you can address are maybe customer insights. Look at some of your reviews and what's going well, right? Talking about the reviews and the client experience can really help you reshape your process if it needs to happen. But most importantly, really let there be a moment for them to address challenges, right? What are they experiencing in their lead follow-up? What are they experiencing at the open house? What are they experiencing on their appointments? And what do they need help with? Because the team can provide lots of value when we're addressing their needs, right? If we know they're struggling with something and we can bring that to the team meeting to help them solve those problems, that's a team meeting worth attending. So keep your content relevant and super practical. Now, no team meeting is good without some sort of action-oriented approach. So what does that mean? Well, think about, what could I take away from this team meeting and use? Tangible actions to drive results, which means that you may only have one or two things that you're really kind of, hitting home, but provide clear direction. If you're going to talk about the CRM, have everybody open up their laptops and follow along. And then everybody make a commitment to do 10 of this, within the next week, right? Think tangible actions that drive results. What can they take and use? Now, it's super important that you set goals in these meetings. So when you're in a sales meeting, and let's say it's something to do with the CRM, we definitely want to make sure that we're giving an assignment and we're setting in a goal, right? So everybody understands, okay, we just learned this concept and I'm going to go apply it. And here's what my outcome looks like. So encourage them to set goals on the action items from the team meeting. Right? This is where, kind of talking about the last slide where I said, let's make sure that if I'm a visual learner or I need to read it, I need to try it out. Are we providing step-by-step opportunity? Are we giving them hands-on experience to help them, prioritize and organize? If you just spew so much information at them, it's going to be really hard to set a goal. So I would say take a step back and think, one or two things that I can implement. Don't try to throw the kitchen sink at them. That's going to be super disappointing for everybody involved. Because as you know, if we set like 5 goals, we're not going to accomplish any. But if I have 1 or 2 areas of focus, I will absolutely be able to make progress. So the other thing that I see is that oftentimes we lack the ability to follow up, right? Has there ever been a time where you were either being coached or you had a mentor, you had a teacher, and they gave you homework and you did the homework and you were super excited to share what it was, only to not have them ask you about it? That is always disappointing. But what it does do is it creates this idea that I don't have to do the homework because nobody's going to ask me. So I would make sure you're discussing, what does the follow-up look like? What does the accountability look like, to make sure that we are taking these great tools and tips and strategies and putting them to good use. So make sure you follow up and make sure you celebrate those milestones. We already talked about celebration, and someone just said we also use the time to celebrate 5-star reviews of Google business page with a $25 Amazon gift card. So that's actually a really good point. That Facebook user, it's actually Kelsey, she just told me, but on my screen it says Facebook user. So, oftentimes teams will ask me, they'll say, hey, what do you want to do, or what should I do about Google business? And we have a team Google business page, and most of my agents have their own Google business pages as well. The importance of having a lot of reviews on the team page is that's where we advertise from, right? That's where we're trying to gain traction. So in order to incentivize the agents to get reviews on the team business page, we do give them a $25 Amazon gift card. They're more than welcome to get reviews on their personal business page, but we do reward them for getting reviews on the team page. We're cruising right along. If you guys have questions, you need to let me know because we're going to finish early. So that's it. Like, it's pretty simple. Let's make sure that we go into the meeting with a clear objective. What are we trying to cover, right? What are the problems that we're facing? Then we look to make sure that we have an environment that's open for discussion and collaborative. The format that we present in is engaging, right? The content is relevant to the people attending, and it's engaging content. When we end the meeting, we end with the action items and the homework. And of course, we follow up with anything that we left off on the previous team meeting. This stuff is also not confined to team meetings. Like, we use Slack, and that's a great place to carry on the conversation about, well, I went and tried this text message and this is what happened, right? Sharing the success, continuing the conversation in your Slack or in your WhatsApp or however you guys or whatever you use for your team's communication platform. It doesn't just have to stay and end with the team meeting. It can continue to go on. Effective sales meetings enhance the team's performance. Remember, that's the point. It's not just to get them into a room. Sometimes we got to cover a lot of business. That's why I said, that's why I love doing the games, because sometimes we do have to cover a lot of like agenda items and like, we're messing up on this and we're doing great on this and the broker said this and this software changed, and right, like, it's not just a litany of you're doing good, you're doing bad. We want to make sure that we're actually addressing things that are going to drive performance. What is that nugget? How can we go deeper? How can we increase their skills? If your sales meetings are not driving performance and culture, it might be time for you to think about, what do you want to change in your sales meetings? And this is where I'd love to hear from you guys, and you can utilize the chat. I've left some time here for a little Q&A. What are you guys seeing that's working in your sales meetings, and what would you like to change, or what questions do you have about, sales meetings? And I'll put this up here because I'd love to have a 5-star review. If you found value in this content, you can jump over to the Jenks Coaching Mastermind or Jenks Coaching Google business page, and you can leave us a review. But let's hear from you guys. What's working in your team meetings? What questions do you have, and what might you want to change to have more effective meetings? So this is a great question. Do you offer Zoom options for agents? So we didn't always. It used to just be in person or nothing. But then, as you guys know, a little pandemic kind of changed that. So during 2020, there was a time where we just had virtual Zoom, team meetings. We didn't love that. And so when it became appropriate, we opened it back up to in person. And where we're at right now, like, we've got a lot of family, we've got a lot of moms and dads that are responsible for taking care of kids. It's summer. So we personally do our meetings in person and on Zoom. I'll be perfectly honest, I don't love it because it's hard to talk to an audience and an audience, right? Like, it's hard to manage the online and the in-person. But we find that it's really valuable to team members. Just this past week, we had a team member that was going out of town, and he decided to just call in to Zoom so he could attend the team meeting while he was driving out of town. Had we not given that option, he would have missed the meeting altogether. So I would definitely, establish what's right for you. Over the summer, we've even opted to do, in June, we did just a virtual meeting because we had so many people on vacation. We had so many people in different places. We were like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and go virtual for this one. We'll go in person on the next one. So it definitely depends on where your team is geographically as well. For us, it works to do both, but it may not always. For the badge system, Our agents are competitive, so they do everything they can to earn a badge. I know that Lynn, who's on the call today too, she implemented a similar sticker system, badge system. If you've ever ridden Peloton, or if you were a Boy Scout or anything like that, you understand badges, Girl Scouts. That's kind of the concept, is we reward behaviors that we really, really like. How can I get the answers to the Kaboom quiz ahead of time so I'm guaranteed? He said Kaboom quiz. Merrill is one of the most competitive. He always wants to win Kahoot. Ricky has trashed him 2 meetings in a row. She's the reigning champ right now. And so I know he's trying to get an insight on how to win. How do you get agents to buy into the concept of team meetings so they feel they are not optional? Well, that's a really, really important thing. So, are they optional? Right? On our team, it's not. Team meetings are part of, who's a good fit for the team? Someone who can come to our team meetings. Our team meetings are on the first and third Wednesday. They're at this time. This is a requirement of the team. So start with the expectations, but then again, why would they not want to come? Well, if they don't find the content valuable and if they feel like it's a waste of time, they're not going to want to come. So that's where I would take a step back and I would look at the content. Valuable team meetings should be full of content that they can walk away and be excited, right? That's when we actually decided to do less team meetings, right? So we used to do a meeting every single week. It was a drain on us as the team leaders. And we found that they didn't love having a meeting every week. So we said, you know what, let's make our meetings a little bit longer and let's just do 2. For our team, this has been working really well. So we just do 2. So just because, someone else does it every single week doesn't mean you have to do it every single week. What are you trying to cover in your meetings? But most importantly, setting expectations. And the culture of our team is it's not optional. And a lot of times people don't want to miss because we got a lot of great things. And our lenders, they bring in lunch. We try to make it as engaging as possible. Lynn says, a gratitude jar. We collect gratitudes at the start of each meeting and pass the jar to collect them. And we plan to share them at the end of the year holiday party. I love that idea. I think that is a phenomenal idea to kind of create this culture of gratitude. But then what a great way to end the year. Lynn says, giving stickers for attendance. Absolutely. People like to be rewarded for their effort. And the sticker system is a great way that, you can encourage it. Another one says, we set our team meeting schedule for an entire year in January, so no excuses for not having the time block. We always have a detailed agenda and stick to it. That sounds amazing. I agree. Have it structured and have an agenda so they know what to expect. You will absolutely increase, right? This one's important, and I'm glad Lynn brought it up. Start on time and end on time. Have you ever been in a meeting that just should have ended and didn't end, and it just kept going and going and going? Sales agents who go to meetings that don't end on time are less likely to want to go to that meeting again. Anybody is, not just a sales agent. So I absolutely agree. You want to start on time and you want to end on time, and you want to honor the people that are there that took their time to attend. Meetings are oriented towards rewards of top producers and less on steady mechanics of growth for new agents. How would you metric on new agents who have 10 customers versus older agents who have 100? Not sure if I totally understand that question. Metrics. So if, newer agents who don't have quite as many customers, we really want to focus on the behaviors and the habits. So if they don't have the sales yet and they don't have the pipeline, what are they doing to drive that pipeline? How many conversations have they had? How many appointments? So you could really look at those metrics, because that behavior is going to drive the results. It's actually the same for a seasoned agent. You know what I mean? A seasoned agent may have more equity reviews and more past client calls, but it all comes down to appointments, conversations, right? Are they going on the appointments? So whether they're seasoned or whether they're new, the metrics are always going to be around the activities and the habits that lead production. Okay, I think that's it for the questions. I loved it. You guys had lots of great questions today. I really appreciate that. So just as a reminder, I will be sending out the schedule. Actually, I think Kelsey already sent out the schedule for the rest of quarter 3 of the classes. They're twice a month, and we've already got lots of great topics. If you have suggestions for topics, feel free to drop them into the Resilient Realtor. DM me at 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐧𝐠, or I think that's all my slides. Yeah, you can DM me at 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐧𝐠 on Facebook, on Instagram, or email me is also a great way to get a hold of me. I'd love to make sure we're addressing the content that you guys want to see and that will be valuable to you. I appreciate you taking 30, 40 minutes to be with me today. Hopefully you can take something from this class to make your team meetings just a little bit better, to help your agents be more successful, and for everybody to reach their goals. Thank you so much for being here. Go sell some houses and help some people. Bye.